welcome to Murder Changed Me. We have a bunch of wonderful guests in the house. We have some mothers here of some rappers that had in the past. We have some jurisdiction judges here. We have a whole host of people here today. But I'm glad everybody came. But first, I want to welcome to the stage Judge Alice Kim. Judge Alice Kim is a Tarrant County judge from Tarrant County. He's like the last person that these kids see when they don't actually murder someone. So he's got a lot to say. And also, I want to introduce right now. I want to introduce some of these mothers. FBG Duck Mom, would you come to the stage right now? So come on the panel. Yeah. It's Judge Alice Kim right here. Take a seat where you want to, Judge. FBG Mom Duck. We have Tooka Mom in the house also. Tooka Mom in the house also. I want to introduce her. Come on up now. Come on up. I believe we're supposed to have Mo3's mom. I don't think she's made it here. She's on her way. And we have little Snupe Mom here also. Could you come to the stage now? Have you a seat right there. Have you a seat. And you also know we have a wonderful host. I don't even need to say his name, but Sean Cotton. We got Sean Cotton going. He's going to be your moderator of this show. I'm just the host right now, and welcome. I hope y'all enjoyed the food and everything. Thanks to Rainwater for that, and everybody else that had anything to do with that there. So basically, I'm gonna introduce Sean Cotton. Come on up. Oh, hold on. I'm sorry. We got Dallas County District Attorney over here. Come on, office. Come on up here. Come on up here also. Come on. I can't believe I forgot her. Come on up, ma'am. Come on up. We need his partner too. He said he wanted to come on up. Come on up, ma'am. Come on up here. Come on up. And basically, we want everybody's opinion of what murder looked like to you. That's what this whole thing is about. To try to help out some of these youngsters. If we can only save one or two, we've done our job, you know. So at this point, I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna introduce Sean Kaufman. He's gonna be the moderator, and we're gonna see what these people got to say to help out our young youth today. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you. Where am I sitting? Can I sit right here? Okay. Well, yeah, that's fine. I'll sit right here. I'm Sean Cotton. I'm the owner of Say Cheese. I've been the CEO for 10 years. I know I'm getting old. And I've been documenting, y'all sons over the past 10 years. Every day I get up and I blog. And I do want to shout out Charleston White, Rainwater, for putting together a great event. But yeah, let's get started. How are y'all feeling mentally?
I'm fine. That's a prayer mass every day, Sean, when I, wake up and I pray that God keeps my mind in spite of everything that has happened in my life. I feel he's using me to deliver a message that needs to be said. So I just thank God for my mind, my common sense, because you need it. You have to have a friend when dealing with things like this. So my mentality is I would have scrambled. It's just like every time I try to take some time to grieve for me, then I'm faced with another challenge about Tooka. So, as far as me being a person and trying to deal with it on a daily basis, because now this discombobulated my life in so many ways, but I'm dealing with it. That's all I can say. I'm just dealing with it. I'm just here.
I would have to say that I'm full. I am very full. Snoop's birthday was just on June 13th, and his murder date was 7 days later on June the 20th. So this event is, around dealing with a lot of my emotions. However, I am still excited because I understand the purpose and I understand where I'm going with what I'm doing. So I'm also excited about this.
Right.
And it's funny that you mentioned the birthdays. And I just want to share, like, I've been, being real cool about having 5 death certificates and things like that. But today was today that I had my son Antonio, June 25th, 2007. And at the age of 2 months, he was accidentally suffocated by my nephew. And today is his birthday. So he would have been 15 years old today. And I just want to just say, God is really using me. This is such a wonderful event that was put together at a time like this. Because I just realized today that it was my son's birthday. So
Sorry about that. Judge Alex Kim, we have him on the platform right now. Can you introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Alex Kim. I am a district judge for the 323rd District Court. It's a family court, but that is the designated juvenile court for Tarrant County, Texas. There's only 9 courts that are specialized in juvenile courts in Texas, and they're all in the urban areas, and I'm the only one in Tarrant County. So we handle all the stuff when children are arrested for offenses when they're at least 10 years old, but under 17. So once you're 17 in Texas, you go into the adult system.
What do you see? I can't hear. Oh, okay. Before we finish our interview, I want to introduce Mo3's mom. She just got here. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. What's your mental like right now?
Well, I take it one day at a time. Just take it one day at a time.
Hold on, let me move so she can get y'all can see her. What's your mental like right now? I'm sorry.
But like I said, I just take it one day at a time. I have good days, bad days.
Mhm.
But you gotta keep going.
Right. I'm happy you're here today.
I'm sorry y'all was late. Y'all know.
It's all good.
I'm sorry. I have a funeral. So
It's all
I'm
good.
sorry.
Well, I thank you for coming, and we're gonna have a great conversation today. Thank you. Give her a round of applause, please. So Alex Kim, what do you see on a day-to-day?
Well, so when I said I'm the only juvenile judge, all the urban counties have multiple. The way we do in Tarrant is it creates consistency. A lot of times when you have different juvenile judges, each judge is different. And so the children, the youths that are going through the juvenile justice system, they have different experiences. In Tarrant County, we feel like it's better that you have one consistent role as a judge. So all the children coming through our juvenile justice system have they're consistent in their expectations on how they act in the community, how they act on probation, what the attorneys can expect if you go to trial or when you're in court. So the more minor offenses, all the misdemeanors and the low-level felonies, I have 2 associate judges that work for me and handle those. When you get to the district judge, to myself, these are the most severe offenses that we see: the capital murders, the aggravated robberies, the sexual assault cases, all the things that are kind of the worst of the worst. That's what my day-to-day is. So when you imagine all the criminal things that you see in our criminal justice system, the things that shock the conscience, those fall upon my shoulders, and my associate judges handle kind of the low-level, the weed in school, the vape pens, the taking a car, things like that. So my job is pretty dark sometimes, and some days it's bright and shining. Every day is just a day by day. You do what you can and make the best decision that you can.
Right. I see online where a lot of people in the judicial system they like to blame rap music on, you know, a lot of things that are going on. How influential do you think rap music is to what you see on the day to day?
Okay, so that's kind of a loaded question, right? It's very general. So more generally, rap music in general, I don't think it makes a difference, right? I think there is what not just myself, but social scientists also call rap culture, right? And I think there's an element of what considered rap culture of a glorification of certain kind of lifestyle, but that is going to be the same with whether you have called a church culture, a chess club culture, or whatever activity that you want to choose. There's going to be some kind of culture associated with that. Now, generally speaking, I think there is kind of this persona that we see consistently in rap music videos and what I see on YouTube or when I was growing up. I'm kind of old school, but I remember growing up listening to, I was a West Coast guy back in the 80s, right? More specifically in Tarrant County, there is a serious problem within the rap community in Tarrant County. There's a lot of violence. Social media has a lot to do with this. Social media during COVID, when children couldn't interact with each other and they're basically throwing shade on Instagram and escalating things. And within that community in Tarrant County, that has become a huge problem. I don't know if y'all remember what was called the Mother's Day Massacre, where over a dozen people were shot at a park in Tarrant County on Mother's Day. It was supposed to be a celebration during COVID of, the lockdown happened in March, a couple months later, let's get the community together, kids together, and just have a good time. And then people showed up with AR-15s and started shooting. That stems back to two different people or two different kind of rap cliques that were going at each other over Instagram. So in Tarrant County, we've manifested a problem that's not indicative of rap music as a whole, but within the subculture in our community, and especially the corner of Tarrant County, yeah, it's a huge problem.
Okay, thank you. I want to ask the mothers, what is murder? What does it look like to you? What is it? I'm sorry. But just the
how has it changed?
How has it changed you? What sorry, it's kind of hard to ask this. But it's just like what's the feeling going through that, seeing it day to day? Like she spoke on, social media and stuff like that.
Well, nobody wants to wake up. I don't think nobody goes to sleep to wake up to see the stuff that we see on the internet. Like, for me, like, I grew up in one of the hardcorest projects that were ever built, and that was the Ivy Well low housing complex. And the thing about us, we were really family. When a village takes a village, we were like the true saying of that, because we still had big mamas, we still had neighbors looking out for each other. It was like, and when they convinced a lot of us, like, y'all should move in the city, it sounded good at the time, but when you look at it now, it's kind of like it messed up what we were trying to build, because everybody is so separated. So it's like you got to be on this side and you got to be on this side. But all the parents grew up together under this structure act of it takes a village to raise a child. It changed me a lot, because for me, I know, me being God-fearing and he is the creator, anything born has to leave one day. So how I deal with it, knowing his word and how it's brought up, you never know. It's a difference between dying and passing versus being murdered. Okay, because we can know someone is sick and expecting them to pass on, but your child leaving out the house, going to the store, and somebody sees somebody that they want to kill in front of the store, and because he or she was doing something that his mom told him to do, he lost his life, because it's always the innocent ones. It's always the ones who didn't cause the conflict that's suffering from it. So it's like it changed me a lot. It made me more open because I'm used to people dying. And that's sad to say. It's like I prepare myself every day to expect to hear that I done lost one of my loved ones, because over the last 15 years, that's mainly what I've been dealing with. So people say I'm strength. People say I'm strong. I don't know where it comes from. My faith has a lot to do with me waking up every morning to even wash my face. Okay, this is how hard it gets for me. So, and that is a goal for me. You know, it changed me a lot. I may lost 5 children, but my mom used to always say, y'all gonna bury me. I'm not burying none of y'all. And unfortunately, she passed the way she said she wanted to pass. All my brothers and sisters are still here, but my 5 remaining kids have lost 5 of their brothers and sisters. And as a brother and sister, I couldn't imagine going through losing that many of my siblings. So it changed me a lot. It changed me to want to change the world. If I can use my story to make somebody just take a second and think and can look at me and say, this woman had been through all this and she still managed to smile. Yes. Because my faith is oriented like that. It's like that. Okay. So yeah. So it changed me a lot. It did.
Thank you.
Murder changed me because my mama was murdered. Somebody poisoned my mama. So when my mama passed, I'm my only child. Watch my grandma struggle every day. My mama was the only child of losing her only child. So me losing my mama at an early age, all I knew how to do was be a parent to mass. And I always, even about their life insurance policy, they crack jokes, I'm gonna kill you to get your money. My kids crack jokes like that and stuff, whatever. But when I lost my mama, I got my kids prepared to bury me. I never, not once, could imagine me have to bury one of my kids. Because in my generation, growing up, that's just one common. To see my kids go through that hurt, I lost them. I lost my oldest son because he didn't know how to deal.
It's cool. Take your time. Take your time.
I just knew I was doing the right thing. I just knew we could be able to get through it as a family. I didn't have the resources to get out there and get them help for grief, to deal with the loss of a sibling. I never experienced that. I experienced what it felt like to lose a mama. I done had necessary tools to get out there and get counseling for my kids, because I just knew we are praying family. We can get through this. I just knew I had it all together. But my son, my oldest son, Divine, he say he had to be shackled up to see his baby brother the last time. He couldn't hug his brother. My son didn't even get a chance to say goodbye to his brother. So he retaliated the only way he know how. The street. My kids were raised up in those streets. They came from a loving home with a single working mama, but I always made it happen for them no matter what. Let them know no matter what struggle we go through, we got each other. Y'all don't got to do it by yourself. I'm going to be right here with y'all, whether it's good, bad, whatever. I'm going to be our biggest supporter. Okay, Mom, come home from the little boot camp. Somebody got in his ear. Oh, yeah, we know who did this to your brother who walked around. He don't know if it's true or not. He just hear, something to do with his brother. He went up and shot a whole park up. Police had shot my son. There was an off-duty police officer in the park when it happened. Shot my son. I just knew I had lost another son. But behind that, they tried to sentence my son to 35 years for that. And because the people from boot camp knew what I was going through, they helped me get a lawyer. So instead of 35 years, my son ended up serving 7 years. But the crazy part is when I went to jail, and I never knew my kids even had this type of mentality, because like I say, we are praying family. We don't, not none of that. I go see him, I said, Devon, you promised me that you was going to let me and God get justice for your brother. I said, so now, me and your sister just out here by ourselves. What we going to do? My son told me, he said, I love you, mama. He said, but I can't let these niggas get away with thinking they took something from me. He said, and as far as you and my sister, he said, I ain't even thought that far yet. So, my son's murder has changed me in so many ways. Like, I shake a lot now. I have real anxiety attacks. I have panic attacks. I need to know the whereabouts of my other 2 kids every second, every minute. And the first thing they tell me, well, Mom, it's going to be okay. Ain't nothing going to happen to us. Let me tell you something. I had just got off the phone with Tooka at 6:04. He was at the bus stop coming home from school. He had just won his wrestling match at school. He said, Mom, I won. I'm on my way home. I said, well, come on. Now, I'm at the sink, seeing the chicken. To this day, I do not fry chicken at home. I got to eat chicken out. I say, come on home. I'm finna cook you a hot meal. We walked around. He said, I'm on my way. That was at 6:04. I get a call 8 minutes later. My son is dead. So I tell my kids, y'all not finna tell me what's gonna happen to y'all when y'all leave out this door. If I could lose a son at 8 minutes. Murder has not only changed me, it changed my whole family. Because now we have to listen to this diss music. that they keep putting my son in. My son wasn't no rapper. He wasn't this big person they tried to make him seem out to be.
Take your time. Take your time.
My son was 15 years old. He lived his life as a child. This music stuff, like, who mimics someone's death like that? In the industry that's upholding this mess. Like, where's y'all morals? What about the grief that his family has to endure? They playing it on the radios and stuff like. I just want to get a message out. Like, stop dissing the dead people. Your words can't hurt no more than them taking their life already. You know what I'm saying? Like, whew, I just keep my head up to the God. Because he done led me this far. And I'm just going to let him continue to lead the rest of my path and hopefully help me maintain my sanity during this journey.
Thank you.
So Murd3r has changed me tremendously. Snupe was my only child, so growing up with him, being used to him for 18 years, and just at the drop of a dime, he's gone. I became a murderer myself mentally after losing him. I would, plot on how I could retaliate because as his mom and his comforter, his protector, how do I sit and not do nothing and allow a justice system who I already have seen fail? I died myself when I lost Snupe. My memory is not as good as it used to be. I just cannot remember certain things. The rage that it brings, it's a different rage. Anything can just irritate you. And I find myself around the anniversary days and holidays that my attitude is different. And I have to check myself and realize that, hey, I'm not being a good person to people. It just changes everything about you. I didn't sleep. I don't even think I realized Snupe was dead till about 3 years later. Even after going through a funeral and all these things, I don't think it tapped in mentally till about that 3rd year that, hey, wait, what's going on in my life? My son is dead and he's not coming back. I think that has to be one of the hardest things to comprehend, is that there's no return. And going to court for 5 years just to get no justice, that brought a different type of rage. Because here I am dead and steady trying to keep a legacy alive because I watched his work ethic. So I'm like, I cannot allow his name to die. So during the journey, I'm steady just moving and making moves, but I'm still dead. On the brighter side of it, I received my purpose in life. God revealed to me why he created Denisha. And I think that has to be the most beautiful thing that I can even acknowledge. And if it were not for my son's death, I would have never tapped into my purpose because I thought that we were okay. I thought that our life was fine. We're fine. It's okay. Even with, getting a record deal, that was his dream. So yes, I support it. But if this doesn't work, mama got us. And so to receive my purpose in that manner, of course, I didn't like it at all. But I understand. In the spiritual side of it, because I know how good God is, I had to check myself and say, I cannot glorify God just because things are good for me. Like I have to trust his process. And I think as humans, trusting God's process is like the worst task. It's like you really don't. We say we trust God, but you really don't trust God when things start happening bad in your life. You want to go to God and pray when things are just good and glory. But when you really trust God, you have to understand, like, what was this about? And I say this a lot. And my son being a part of the industry, I said, yeah, he got killed by a gun, but he dodged the biggest bullet, which was the industry. So I'm thankful that even though he got a chance to taste his dreams, that he didn't get caught up in the corrupt part of it, in the evilness of it. And so because of that, when I get weak, I think about why I'm moving. Why did this happen to me? You know, this new life of mine, what is my obligation? So when I see other mothers and hopefully they can just see me and say, oh, well, she's making it. Even if I say nothing and don't open my mouth, if they can just see that I woke up and washed my face, got out the bed, those were tasks that may be simple to everyone else, but it's a task to even have the mental to say, when I open my eyes, the first thing I think, Snoop is dead. Every single day. That's the first thing. There's no, I'm tired still, my head hurts. It's like, Snoop is dead. Now that you know this and you have comprehended that your son is dead, what's your next move for today? And that's an everyday reality for me. So murder has changed me, and I will never be the same woman I started off as before this happened.
Thank you. Can you pass it to Mo3's mom?
Well, this is probably the first time I've ever even talked to anybody else, because I don't talk to anybody about it. In my own mind, I'm dealing with it my own self. And like I said, God and I, we're going to work it out. The day I got the call with Lil Melvin, and again, y'all, it's Mo3 to everybody. He Lil Melvin to me forever. When I got the call, I was fixing to call him to tell him, okay, I'm ready to go get my hair done, because I knew he was coming back to town. And of all days, I go into a gas station and leave my phone in that store. It was all of 15 minutes. I go back to the store to get my phone. And I've had all these missed calls. And then I called my son back. He was the only one I called back. And he's like, Mama, you got to get there. Bubba got shot. So I didn't even know where to go. I'm like, where are you at? What street? I just Googled Oak Cliff, this hospital, and this is what it took me to. And I was like on two wheels trying to get there. All the way there, I prayed. I'm like, he gonna be okay. He gonna be okay. He gonna be okay. But then when I get there and it was like an hour, 2 hours, they're not telling me anything. They finally come tell me after that long, he didn't make it. I lost it. That day, that was the end of my world, that I thought, this is my firstborn. We went through so much, from him getting in trouble in his early years in school to him. The song Letter to My Mama was really a letter. He wrote a letter telling me how he's going to change, how he's going to do this, how I'm not going to do this no more. And to overcome all of that from being homeless, because not only was he homeless, we were homeless. And to overcome all of that only to get killed. I don't question God. I don't ask him why. I sing at too many funerals to know the code. It can happen to you. I wasn't ready. I'm still not ready. I listen to him every day. I watch him every single day. My sister tell me, you need cancer. Why? I think I have to be able to still be able to look at him every day. But I know I got to go on. And I know that, I had a whole lot of them. They want to do this, they want to do that. What is that going to do? Nothing y'all do is going to bring them ever back. Nothing. I just wish these young men that y'all just, focus on y'all kids, because that's who I see hurt the most, is the mothers and the kids. We suffering the most. I don't have nothing to do with nothing that was going on, but I'm hurting the most. My kids, them grandkids, they had nothing to do with nothing, whatever, but I see their hurt. I just know I got to keep going. I'm going to keep on singing Lil Melvin. No, he Lil Melvin. I miss my baby. I really do. I'm not a talker. Anybody know me? I don't talk. I'm not. And I was so nervous even to come. But we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay.
I also want to ask, what message do y'all have to mothers There's a million rappers in this game right now. What message do you have to the other mothers in the rap game?
Get in your kids' business. Do not allow them to tell you they got nothing dealing with this industry. Because just the littlest thing could help your son or daughter when stuff like this happens. Because my son trusted someone so much. And when he realized what was going on, because I've been told by a lot of people in the business, the first deal always the jack up deal. They be thirsty. They want the money. You learn from that. But he didn't get a chance to experience that. But I tell the world, some people are made to do it and some people were born into it. And I'm like you, Mama Mo, Duck Carlton, like I gave him that name before he was even born, okay? I literally watched the 5 heartbeats my son's whole pregnancy. And I would rub my stomach and say, I'm going to name him Duck, this one. Because remind you, I was 22 with 5 kids, okay? And if it wasn't for the structure that my family had and my grandmother had, I don't know where I would have been. And when he was finally born, he came out, his mouth was looking like a duck bib. So I was like, okay, we're going to name you Duck for real then. So as he grew up, he was always singing and dancing and walking on his toes. And it's just me and being silly, like, oh, I might have a gay son, Lord. Because he walked on his toes like he had on heels and stuff. But my granny used to be like, he might be a ballerina or something. You know what I'm saying? But he was really born to do that. And I know how he was born to do that because he was 8 years old. And when I first heard him sing, I had to pull the car over and turn around. And as I was doing that, tears was coming down my face. And it was like my soul shook. Anybody hear a voice, hear somebody sing and they just do something? He was only 8. So I look back at him and I say, did that just come out your mouth? Because I couldn't believe it. And he said, yeah, Mom. Because he used to suck his fist. If you notice anything about Ducking in his videos, this one finger don't touch nothing. He be doing all this because he sucked his finger. Okay? So that rap stuff, like I thought he was going to be the next Chris Brown. Because he emulated Chris Brown coming up. And he always grew up on R&B, and because I play that stuff all the time. So when this rap stuff came about, I think he learned that with being in the basement at Granny house. Because my granny had 9 kids, and out of her 9 kids, it was 57 of us from one seed. So he's always been brought up in a real big oriented family. So I guess he learned how to rap by playing the dozens with his cousins. But when I heard him rap, I said, wow. And I know everything my son have saw me overcome some things. And he was proud of me that I didn't give up on myself, on my life. Like for me, I lost 3 children tragically from 2014 to 2020. I lost 3 of my babies tragically. My 3-year-old died in a fire, 2014. Then in 2017, his big brother was murdered on 63rd and St. Louis. And from that moment, like it's this picture that went viral on the internet. We were at my son's death scene and I fell out when the police finally came and told me, yes, ma'am, that's your son laying back there in the back of the house. So I fell out and I hit my head so hard, my aunt and Duck grabbed me. And it's this picture that's going viral right now where he's hugging me while I'm bent down on the ground and I'm in his ear and I say, I need you, Duck. I need you. I can't lose you to these streets. And that's when that pain music started coming. It was like he went in that studio, baby, and that pain got to coming off on wax. And then he got to keep up with the Jones as far as it's the fans. You know, when Duck made Chicago Legends, I would tell him, I say, Duck, you did it, baby. Like no other. When I saw G Herbo comment on it, I say, oh yeah, this something they wish they had the balls to do, but it took you to do it. You know, and I say, you can't make no more diss music, Duck, because I hated it as a mother for someone's child to be marked about something that God does. God give life, God takes life away. And I would tell my kids, you are God's child, I am God's child. Whenever he wants us, ain't nothing we can do about it. He lends us to our parents. So that's how I deal with grief. It's like when I start grieving for one, I lose another one. And before I can start grieving for that one, I lose another one. So I can sit before y'all and say, I've never honestly grieved about my losses. But I thank God for keeping me stable enough because I'm going to get a chance to grieve. But I still got business to take care of. And he made Chicago Legends, and I say, you can't make no more diss music. He say, I know, Mom. Here come all this disrespectful music again. So when he made the DB song, I say, you gonna drop that? And his words was, they keep doing it to me, Mom. They won't stop saying my brother name. And 6 weeks later, my son was gone. And I'm not finna believe it's over no song. And a lot of people was happy behind the death of my son over words. I just want to show these babies they need to give themselves a chance. I feel I done lost enough. I earned this seat to sit up here and speak to the young minds in the world of, you see what I'm going through. I'm no different from your mother. But it's too accessible for, it's glorified. I wasn't too much blaming on the music, but music is food for the soul. So if you can relate to a lot of stuff that's going on, you're going to gravitate to it more. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't blame it on the music. I blame it on the circumstances. These kids are rapping about other people's circumstances. So I just want to be able to be a voice for all moms. Mo3 mom, it's such an honor to be sitting here with you. Finally, like for the last 6 months, I've been trying to meet you. So it's really an honor to be sitting here with you. And I hope that we can continue to save these babies, because like me, you have lost a lot. You definitely lost a lot. You know, Tooka ain't never did nothing to nobody, but yeah, he is the most famous person in the rap industry. If you look up Tooka's name in the Urban Dictionary, okay, I'm just pass to you after I say that. If you look up Tooka's name in the Urban Dictionary, no, it says formerly known as Shondell. Wait a minute, it say a strand of weed that was invented to disrespect Shondell Gregory. That's his name. So that's what Tooka stands for in the Urban Dictionary. But he really was a person, you know. And my son spoke out about it because they knew Tooka never did nothing to them, but they did it to make Duck mad. So that's how the whole disrespecting the Tooka thing came about, to get back at Duck. And he didn't like it, so you know how he...
You asked about what would I respond be to the kid as far as the industry. My son never even been in the industry at all. Duck made a song about my son to honor his friend because they were really friends. They was real close. But to have someone to switch it around and diss the dead, they got to understand, like Mama Duck said, we all are God's kids. Where you going to be when your judgment day come? Why you trying to judge my son that don't even know him? You know what I'm saying? Where you going to be at? Is God going to let you in them doors? I know where my son at. But if you want to make music, make something on a positive note. See, I came up off of MC Light and Biz Markie. Wasn't no dissing. As far as you had dissing was the Tupac and Biggie, and they wasn't even dissing. They wasn't dissing about each other dead. Homie, they was dissing each other about how I'm going to take your girlfriend or how I'm going to do this, make more money than you. It was never no dissing no dead people. So for this generation to take it, what's it called? Drill music, I'm trying to say, I guess.
Yeah.
To another level like that, got too much time on their hand. It's other stuff they could sing about than to try to get somebody mad enough with words that they want to take another life. Like, I don't get that part. Then for them to think that Tooka is a strand of weed, like, how? How could you ever think that something God created on this earth, although we come from ashes to ashes, we shall return, but I still wouldn't take it as smoking on nobody. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to be a sick individual, for real. No morals, no go get about life to do something like that. So, I mean, that's how the rap industry changed me, because my son didn't have to do nothing with nothing. And I'm going to be his voice to anybody who think they're going to say smoking on Tooka. No, that is not how this finna go. You know what I'm saying? I'm not against nobody or nothing, but I just wish they just let my baby be. He been gone 11 years. Let him be.
Thank you.
I would tell an up-and-coming rapper that if you really just must rap, if that's what you just have to do, first, of course, keep God first. I would say to, trust no one. No one. Stay away from yes men. You don't need anybody around you just gonna give you high fives because they don't want to lose a spot with you. You need somebody that's gonna pull your collar and let you know that you're messing up and move out your hometown. definitely got to get away from home because the love is not there. People only gonna, just kind of feed off of you because they want to be relevant, and fame has really messed this world up.
Yep.
So most people would like to be famous more than successful, and that's where the mishaps is. So I would just say, get in, get your deal, whatever you're gonna do, stay focused. Every day it's like a job, so you can't be a lazy. The work ethic, I think, is what's lacking in the rappers. Is like, you want to be a rapper, but you don't want to do the work ethic. You don't want to sit in that studio day in and day out and make it happen, and you have to get a hit. Don't just be putting out music, everything, because you went to McDonald's and your food was cold. Now you want to make a song about it. Like, make it make sense, and feed these children something that's gonna give them something. Because if it's the right person, the message can be given just because of the person that's giving it. So I just, if they would be on a positive note, that'll kind of help change the mindsets of our youth that's coming up.
Thank you.
I tell y'all, stop rapping, start singing R&B. 'Cause I'm sick. Country, gospel, something. Just something else. Do something else. Because this is not, for real. It's ridiculous. They not, I don't think they are. I hadn't heard they killing country rappers, country singers, and R&B singers and gospel singers. Go do some of that. I'm so over rap. And I know that's what feed us right now, but I'm so over it. I'm so over it. I really am.
You can pass it to the prosecutor. Can you introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Nadine Sarah Salkic. I'm a prosecutor at the Dallas County District Attorney's Office Gang Unit. And first of all, I want to let all of you know I'm very sorry for your loss. And hearing you speak today is the hard part of my job, because as part of my job, I have to talk to victims of crimes. And oftentimes the mothers, the fathers, the sisters, the brothers, and we sit there and we hear and we see that pain. We may never be able to fully understand it because we're not in your shoes, but we see it and we hear you. And the other really hard part of the job is hearing that pain, knowing that pain, and trying to do the best that we can for you. So I'm very grateful for you, and I'm very sorry about your loss.
How young are the kids you see coming in on a day-to-day?
So I am assigned to the gang unit. We handle adult cases, so starting at 17. And so we don't really get cases unless a person is 17 and older, unless they have gone through this juvenile system, for example, where Judge Kim is. And they can be as young as 13 or 14 or 15, and they could get certified through the process to be tried as adults. Right now in Dallas County, our defendants, individuals, committing crimes, accused of crimes, and our victims are getting younger and younger. We have been hearing that we have young individuals as young as 13 and 14 being charged with capital murder, getting involved in shootouts. And that is very difficult to hear because you're dealing with a 13-year-old, essentially child, who has been charged with the highest crime that you could be charged with. So we have seen an overall age, we see that they're getting younger and younger.
Why do you think that is? Why are kids getting younger and younger?
It's like Judge Kim said, it's a very loaded question. It's very complicated. You can't really say it's one thing that's causing young individuals to commit crimes. And anybody who has dealt with this or has seen it will tell you that it's a complex question. So a lot, sociodemographics have a lot to do with that, right? Mm-hmm. Where they're growing up, what conditions are they growing up, who do they have there to teach them, to guide them through life? It's not the only reason, but it is a factor to be considered. Who are they looking up to? What are the influences in their life? So I think that's where you can say either the rap culture or the rap music in the industry may play a role in that, right?
Social media,
100%. Especially in I don't know how many years, when we have a case, most of our stuff is based off of social media, because these days kids are taught to share every moment of their life online. Yep. You go to McDonald's, your food is cold, they're about to do a live video about it. So you know everything that every person does, good or bad. And so they're encouraged to share and overshare. And then you have to maintain this persona, right?
Yep.
Everybody wants to be famous. That was a really good point. Nobody wants to do the hard work and get there the traditional way. Everybody wants to be instantly famous. And for that, we have to thank social media and the reality TV shows, right? Everybody wants to have their own show. Everybody wants to have a lot of money. So a lot of kids skip the steps of doing the work and actually, will engage in behavior that will get them there faster. If that means, get a gun and start posting videos about a gun, start hanging out with a group that is gaining notoriety, yeah, they'll do that. And so how do we change this? Because it's a nationwide problem, it's a worldwide problem. How do you change and provide other influence to young individuals except social media, right? So that's the question. It's a lot of different factors that go into it, and I think there's not going to be one answer. It's going to have to be a multifaceted approach to try to help young people.
How do drugs play a part in violence?
They play a part, but I wouldn't say that the drugs are going to be the main reason. Again, it's a factor. So I've seen defendants commit crimes because they may be high on drugs, right? Any substance that you intake in large quantities, it could be food, right? It is going to affect how you feel, how you think. So a lot of our young individuals hang out with other guys. They're like, hey man, I got some bars for you. I got some stuff. And then your perception changes when you start using these substances. And you're also dealing with young people who's, their impulse, they lack the impulse control, right? And so they're not able to control themselves. And then you add a substance to it. So for them, suddenly grabbing a gun and going to hit a lick seems more reasonable in their mind because you're lacking that ability to discern what is real and what's not. It's not the only factor. Then drugs play a part in, what is it that it plays a part in if you're trying to get famous by selling drugs or if you're trying to get into the game. That is there's certain risks that come with that. We all know that. And I think a lot of our young people either don't know the risks or they know it and they assume it because they want to make it.
Right. It's been a big trend for I want to say maybe going on 11, 12 years where rappers put guns in music videos. I'm going to say in the early 2000s, unheard of until the drill era, Chicago came about. What's your thoughts on, seeing, kids in music videos with guns?
So I'll tell you this, every single one of us that's grown up, we have been shaped as individuals based on what we grew up on. What were we taught, what we saw. If you have a young, impressionable mind and you're showing them videos of guns, that they're going to eventually start accepting that as normal without commenting on legality of weapons or anything like that. Just think of it in simple terms. Children repeat what they see. So if what they see on TV or social media is guns, drugs, violence, in their mind, they're going to learn that that's acceptable. So yes, if you're putting that out there to young students, young people, children, they're going to want to emulate that because that's what we all do growing up. And it takes us years to get to a point where we are able to decide on our own, hold on, that is not what I want to emulate anymore. But that's why providing that, showing videos like that to young people at a young age really affects how they grow up because they think it's normal. Oftentimes, think about it. I have cases where I work on, for example, if I'm working on punishment cases, I get to review video calls between, inmates and their family members or their social media. And what bothers me the most is when I see photographs of them with their children, having children throw up gang signs or have children carry guns. There is only one but outcome after that. And so, yes, I think it's a problem.
Yeah. These cases that you deal with, how aware are the parents? Do they even know their kid is, even in the streets at all, or?
So I've noticed that most of the time parents somewhat know that they're out there, but they really don't know the extent of it. And most of the time parents really don't find out what their kid was involved with until after, for unfortunately they get killed or they get charged with a crime. There is a small percentage of parents that do know it and they support it, and but that's always going to be there. But most parents don't know. They don't know the extent because their kids are going to tell them, "Hey mom, I'm fine. Hey dad, everything's cool. I'm doing good." And they always want to present a story to their parents because they don't want their parents to think less of them. So I don't think parents really know the full extent.
All right. Appreciate it. Charleston, come up here. I want to shout out, like I said at the beginning, Rainwater, Charleston White, putting together a dope event. I hope we can do this annually. I've been documenting FBG Duck, Lil Snupe, when he blew up, meeting Meek Mill, what was that, at Grambling? Me and Mo3 were real close. Tooka, he's involved in a lot of Chicago beats just by his name being brought. So I really appreciate this, man, for real.
Sean's gonna have to leave, so I'm gonna take over for a minute while Jesse comes up with his questions. But I want to ask Judge Alex Kim, how do you balance life, seeing these cases? Because I know you're a father and a parent. How do you balance life, seeing these cases, and then having to go home and be a father and a dad? How do you guys process this?
I go fishing. There's just, it's what I deal with is very dark. And as a judge, one thing people don't realize is you only need a judge when two people are in disagreement, and you have to have a third person make a decision. Because if people are going to agree, you don't need a judge. You just plea or you settle a case, and the judge never hears about it. It's only when you disagree that you go to court, and the judge has to make a decision. That's part of the job, but you're always going to disappoint somebody, right? So every single decision I make as part of my job, somebody's upset. And sometimes, even the person that wins, they're both upset because my decision wasn't extreme enough, or was not enough, or was too much. So it's funny how, at the very least, I've upset half the people, and sometimes I upset 100% of the people. But this is part of what we expect from judges. This is part of the mantle that I decided to bear to do this, because I felt like there was a calling for me. Fortunately, in the juvenile justice system, the focus is not about punishment. It's about rehabilitation, about taking kids and setting them on the right path, and a lot of times it's they just need more supervision. They're not getting adequate supervision at home. Sometimes it's because the parents won't supervise their kids. Sometimes because the kids won't accept supervision, right? But somewhere along the way, now we have to get the government involved, and that's what we're here for. And then there are some kids that no matter what we do, we can't help them. And then we end up having to commit them. And then that's where they learn, right? Through that next step. And even then, sometimes those kids don't learn, and they end up in the adult criminal justice system, unfortunately. But it's very dark, but you do see moments. You see moments of children that you've really turned around their lives. I have parents that come to me after court and just thank me because their kids get it now. They understand. I have kids that come up and say, "You saved my life, that I was on a bad path, and you actually took the time to actually care about me and know what's going on in my life." And then you have the community too. You have people, neighbors, victims that will come back after a case is over and talk about how things are different in their community. You have police officers that are saying, because you helped this kid, now we don't go to that house 5 nights a week. We can solve other crimes in our city. It's just, there's so many different things you can do with kids because the law allows the juvenile court to do more with kids. Children don't have the same rights that adults do. And because they don't, our legal system allows us to be more interactive. When you're an adult in the criminal justice system, you have all these protected rights, and the government pretty much stays out until your trial. And once the trial happens, then they drop the hammer, or you get acquitted. In the juvenile justice system, man, the evaluations, the programs, the counseling, everything that we do before you get to a trial, so we know exactly who this child is, what family background they're coming from, what their needs are. Are they mental health needs? Are they social needs? Are they behavioral needs? And that way we tailor the probation to exactly what the child needs. You know, there's a lot of satisfaction in that.
Yeah.
You know, what we do with kids to stop them from reoffending is so much more effective than what the adult system does. And that helps me sleep at night.
Miss Denisha, I once heard you say that you didn't have a good experience with the prosecutor's office. And I wanted to ask our prosecutor, because I've been sitting back watching her connect with the mothers. What's the role of a prosecutor for the victim's family initially going before trial, before anything ever happens?
Sure. So, people often ask me what is the prosecutor's job, because I think that there's this misconception that we really just want to put people in prison. And I'm sure there are prosecutors whose only role is to put people in prison. But in the Texas Penal Code, there is a section that says it's the prosecutor's duty to do justice, to make sure justice is done. And justice comes in various forms. It can mean sometimes you dismiss a case. It can mean sometimes you send somebody to prison. Sometimes you try to get them the help that they need. In terms of victims, victims do have, in the state of Texas, they have codified rights. Victims have the right to be notified about the status of the case. They have the right to be updated as to what is going on. There's a lot of rights. We do focus on a lot of victims' rights. Now, as my job as a prosecutor, in every case, in my cases right now that I work on are murders, capital murders, aggravated robberies, and aggravated kidnappings. So I'm dealing with all of the first-degree felonies. And I almost every single time I have to meet the family, or if it's a capital murder, I have to meet the next of kin or a victim in a case. And I always like to do it in person, because I want to make sure that they're heard in this process. Oftentimes, victims do fall through the cracks because there's prosecutors that are either overwhelmed with cases, or they may not be as thorough and they don't make that contact with the victim. Anybody who has ever been through a crime, anybody who's been a victim of a crime, has felt forgotten or has felt like the system doesn't care about them. I have personally felt like that. So I want to make sure that they know that there is somebody out here who is working on this case, who is going to fight to make sure justice is done. Now, we may not always agree on what the outcome is, and that's going to depend on the case, on the evidence, on what justice requires. But I want them to know what is being done. I want them to know that I hear them, that I understand them. And I have spent a lot of time meeting victims, meeting families where they cry and they are very angry and frustrated, and they just don't have this anger and pain to go anywhere. And sometimes I have to be there, and I have to be on the receiving end. And I've always been able to build a pretty good relationship with victims, because I understand, or victims' families, because these are just humans who have been through something. None of these women here have chosen to be victims like this. This was imposed on them. So we have to understand that. And the hardest part of working in the gang unit is, you have mothers whose children were, for example, gang members. You cannot tell that woman that her son or her daughter, they don't deserve justice because they might have made some mistakes in their life. No, you have to fight for them just as much as you would fight for anybody else. And so I try to make the victim the focus of my case, to make sure I also never overpromise or make misrepresentations. I'm always very honest, and I think they respect that more than if you tell them, oh, it's all going to be great, and 3 months later down the road, something happens and it doesn't go well. The only promise I can make them is that I'm going to give 110% of myself to make sure I get the best possible outcome. That's the only promise I can make.
All right. Well, I think this would be a great time to make a transition. At this point, we want the mothers to stay up there, and we want to ask some guys who was once adjudicated for the crimes of murder as children, but was transferred into the adult prison system from the juvenile system. And their focus will be talk about victims' empathy. They hear the mother's pain, so we want to hear from some killers who grew up to redeem themselves. And I wish you guys would stay to hear it as well. Thank you guys for coming out. Thank you, Sean. And Jesse Taylor will take over the presentation from here.